So I made a document, which I might flash on screen here, a year ago. I don't know the exact date. I guess I could check the history. Maybe Editing Toby will give a note with when it is exactly from. And I made some goals and I made some predictions, inspired by some of my favorite YouTubers. And real quick, while we're still early, retention is high, I encourage you to do the same. Whether it's fun to do predictions about the world, it's also great to set some goals in a way that works for you. So, I think we'll start with, first off, I'll make a quick aside. I made predictions about people in my life, like so-and-so will break up with so-and-so, so-and-so will... Don't do that. It's weird. It's a bad idea. That's all I'm gonna say from that little experiment. It was a great one-year experiment. They weren't very accurate, in case you're wondering. But it kind of gives a weird relationship with the people in your life, because you're like betting the under on their life. Has parlaying gone too far? Find out next episode. So I would just personal little warning from that. But now, so I'll go into my world predictions from last year, and then some personal goals, and a bit of a reflection on that. So to start off, my first goal, the quote unquote decent recession. Okay. I think we can safely say that is not how we would describe what we're in right now. The stock market's up. Obviously, there's a ton of talk of recession indicators. Everything's a recession indicator. So I think I was on the right track with this, but there hasn't been a crash or anything yet. So I think it would be disingenuous to say that, there's a recession. So, next up, one of Gaza/Ukraine ends on terms the general populace doesn't love. Ukraine is still fighting hard. Not shout out to Ukraine. Gaza is weird, because I tried to do some research on this before this video. Technically, there's a ceasefire. But from the sounds of it, the people of Gaza are not having a great time still. So we'll call this one inconclusive. You could give me a check mark there. But I don't feel good about the check mark. So next up, OpenAI announces general AI. Doesn't really affect anything. General AI being smarter than a human for all tasks, I believe, is the definition. This is another one that I can safely say, no siree. Yeah, this is just straight wrong. A G7 country, which is the global 7, I think, which is like the biggest 7, like Germany, France, US, Canada, experiences a major political event, attempted coup, assassination, impeachment, etc. So it's a no from those specific criteria, but there was a general trend of countries changing leadership. And so from that sense, you could say I wasn't incredibly far off. So, but yeah, there's a trend of coalitions breaking, governments switching power. And so while it wasn't anything like shocking, like a leader getting shot in the cranium, there was some shooting in the cranium this year, though. Yeah, I think it's a no, but I was on the right track. Next up, Xi Jinping dies. I think I was just trying to will something there. I think he's alive and kicking. I haven't checked in with him in a few months, personally. Me and him are quite close, but it's a no. It's a no. Jakob Ingebrigtsen breaks multiple world records. Technically true. He did break 2 early in the year. News headlines flash. Now, he did get injured right after. If you're not a running fan, Jakob Ingebrigtsen, greatest middle distance runner on the planet right now. I think that's safe to say. But he did get an Achilles injury, which hampered a lot of that progress. Both those records were indoors. So he did get 2 records, which is multiple. But he did not have the season I think me or many others predicted him to have exactly. This is an interesting one. Marvel Rivals settles into a Overwatch-sized spot player base-wise. Esports struggle to find orgs willing to invest. I would say generally correct. I checked the Steam charts for both of these games. And Marvel Rivals has more Steam players, but Overwatch is, of course, on battle.net. So I don't think you can get an exact player base count, but I would say they're about the same size. Maybe you might argue Overwatch is bigger with, like, dedicated players. Marvel Rivals, a more casual scene. But esports, Overwatch esports is much, much bigger than Marvel Rivals. Marvel Rivals hasn't really caught on. Apparently they did have an end-of-season major that I saw while researching this. And they have a few good esports organizations. 100 Thieves, Virtus Pro, Navi, Envy, FlyQuest. But really not a big esport. And if you're looking at, like, a Valorant, or a League, or a CS, lot less esport investment. You're not getting leagues full of teams wanting to sign up. Next up, Fortnite on the decline. Now this one is a bit of a tough one, because if we're going off monthly players, it's true. It's 100% true. But it is, like, they're doing their whole ecosystem thing. So it's complicated. On the decline was pretty poor phrasing from me. So you could swing this either way. I think it's a no, but not terribly far off. Next, Switch 2 comes out, huge success. Now, I initially thought this was wrong on the second part. Switch 2 did come out if you're living under a Nintendo rock, low poly, 60 FPS rock. And so I thought this was true, because I haven't heard a lot of cultural hype around it, and there's not been a lot of games that have came out for it. But apparently in Japan, it is massive. And it is allegedly worldwide selling better than the original Switch. So that's a yes. That's a 100%, that prediction is true. Next, TikTok banned new non-YT/Instagram competitor gets big. This is wrong, but I have some fact checking that I didn't do before I made this video. Was the Zhao craze in 2025 or 2024? Because that could actually be a decent... I think it was. So, I don't think Zhao Hongshu is big, but the cultural idea was there. If you weren't aware, Little Red Book is a Chinese app that was briefly like a cultural phenomenon, I think in early 2025. But TikTok is not bad. I think you can install TikTok right now. So, next up, Tesla stock ends year under $400. It was about $415 when I made this prediction. And this is wrong. It's at like $475. But there was actually a very big dip, if you're not a stock market person, in early 2025, with kind of Doge happening. A lot of people got scared. But once he left Doge, it kind of rallied back up the stock price. So this was almost very true. But he has like $1 trillion pay package now. So he is living large, and so is Tesla as a brand. Mr. Beast, 450 million subs. I checked yesterday, he was at 457 million. Bang on from Toby. Being a Mr. Beast predictor. This is kind of a bad trade for me, but you gotta do what you gotta do when there's a gargologist on the board. Yeah, pretty bang on prediction. 7 million in Mr. Beast numbers is not off. I'll put on the screen what he was at when I made this prediction, but I think it was pretty low. I think he gained like 100 million subscribers. More general one, but there will be some brain-dead legislation passed this year. IDK what it will be, but rut row. There was the big beautiful bill, which, I'm not gonna get into politics here, as much as I can avoid, but I would agree with that, but I think this is kind of a spiritual no, bad prediction, because it hasn't been legislation, it's been executive orders. No matter what you think, what end of the political spectrum you're on, that is undeniable. The way Trump has been accomplishing his agenda has been through executive orders. And I didn't see that coming, so that's a big no for me. Real quick, I was very into Valorant at the start of this year, so I have some Valorant predictions. I'll put a timestamp if you don't care about Valorant, but I'll try to make these quick. EG makes an international. Wrong. Unlucky, yay. T1 makes top 3 twice, doesn't win a trophy. Wrong. They didn't make top 3 twice, they did win a trophy. PRX implodes, drops 2 or more players by the end of the year. Wrong. Fluorescent does really average in Tier 1. Another GC talent gets picked up by the end of the year. Second part, wrong. First part, pretty true. I mean, she had some great games. She also had a big controversy. But, you know, the team was bad, so you can't really see how much she shined. I think that's actually a very, very decent prediction. Sen does really good domestically, doesn't get top 4 internationally. Spot on. They made all 3 internationals, which I would say is pretty good domestically. But they went 0-2, 5th, 6th, 0-2 in internationals. So, that's not getting top 4. 11 MIBR flop, don't make an international. True for Lev, very wrong for MIBR. Boaster retires, goes into content. Not yet. We'll see there, bud. Major NA talent goes to China. Not true. Alright. Welcome back, non-Valorant players. Pretty wrong in general, if you're just, you know, you want the synopsis. I'm gonna now touch on my personal goals. This is probably a bit more of a vulnerable part of this video. But I have sort of a general, I guess, critique, you could even say, on how I set these goals. That I think is a very interesting conversation, even if you don't care what I did personally, as a man. So number 1, be happy financially where I choose to go to college. I was a big stressor at the start of the year where I was going to go to college. Senior year of high school, very understandable. I would say that's a success. I'm happy in college, more expensive than I'd like to be paying, but I think that's just America. So what are you really going to do? Number 2, break a school record before I graduate. I was a track athlete, and I was 2 seconds off of the mile school record, which you would say this was a failure, but I think part of the problem with how I set goals is I am very happy with my high school track career. My final race of the season, I had like a 6 second PR in the mile to go under 5. I had run like 6 milliseconds off of breaking 5, and I broke it in my final race of the season. I cried. I was so happy, and truly, that race means so much to me. And just because I was 2 seconds too slow to get under an arbitrary record that like only exists because my track program's new, I don't feel like I failed for not doing that. So I'm happy. Upload weekly. I think when I made this goal, I had a different idea of what kind of content I would be making. But the fact stands that probably if you look back in my various resolutions and years throughout high school, I've wanted to make a YouTube channel, and this year I made it live, as we can see. And so I uploaded enough videos to be weekly, even though I missed weeks, like the first half of 2025. But I'm happy with that. So that's a bit of a success. Compete in the modern pentathlon. That is a success. I did go to my first tournament. It's a very obscure sport that I'm passionate about. Fencing, swimming, running, shooting, obstacle. As a runner coming from it, swimming has been a big challenge. And I have not put as much time and effort into that specifically as I would have liked. I wish I were a better swimmer as we stand right now. But regardless, I went to my first competition. I gave it a whirl. I won the laser run, which is a combination of running and shooting due to a technicality. But I'm happy with that goal and with my progress in it. And that's it. Those were my goals. I kind of achieved all of them. But I think it doesn't, just because I achieved all of them, looking back now, it doesn't make this year feel like a success, per se. And I think that's because I picked they're goals in what I am passionate about, but I wasn't thinking about those goals when I was in my running workouts, when I was fencing, when I was, filling out college apps. And so I don't really feel like they're meaningful, deserved. So going forward, I kind of, last night when I was preparing this video, I kind of wanted to dig deeper and think about, like, why am I setting goals? And I think there's kind of a shift that I've heard of process-oriented goals a lot more, in my life. I've heard of those. So I think I'm going to try and shift to those going into the big 26, which sounds a lot lamer than 25, not a round number, but it is the founding of this beautiful country. I'm not like I don't know why I said that. That's like half ironic. So I think at the core of next year's goals, I want to add a new character trait to who I am when I think of Toby. That's my name, not Tube. My parents would hate me, yeah, if I was named Tube, I don't know what my parents were thinking. So, yes, there's one character trait I want to add this year as a goal, and that's hardworking, okay? I think, there's plenty of words I think of when I think of myself, but I've never been hardworking. And, I think when I think of, like, big wishes, that's kind of what I want to add. I've always been the naturally gifted at school, but never do my homework, get good test scores. I think, that's not that unique of a, character, a foil, you could say, from a literary perspective. The core to this is, I think, I don't know how you add a trait, but how I'm gonna try, and I guess we'll check in a year to see how it goes, is kind of technically quote about confidence that I think about quite a lot, which is confidence isn't a trait, it's how you act. So if you act confident, you'll be confident eventually. And I think that helped a middle school Toby a lot. So we're going to try similar things with being hardworking. And we're going to try and be hardworking, not because we necessarily are, but because that's what we want to do. And yeah, like, I don't know, basically I'm going to try and will it into existence. And when I'm in a moment in life where you need to have that discipline and do something hard, I'm just going to think to myself, this is what I want to be. And if I want it enough, maybe I'll do it that one time. And if I do it that one time enough, then I've added a new trait to who I am. And so that's what I want to do. I have goals to try and achieve this in, aspects of my life that are much more process-oriented, which I'm not going to share, because I think I'll share them when they're done or when they're failed, and I think that's more entertaining than seeing right now. Well, who knows? So look forward to that, I guess. Subscribe, and we'll see how it goes. I do also have those world predictions for 2026, which I'm not going to share now, because right now I'll look like a fool no matter what, but in a year I'll either look really cool or like a fool, so there's no point in wasting that gamble now, if you kind of get my drift. I have a lot of exciting videos. I'm going to try and get a video which is tier list of every thumbnail I've made this year out. I think I'm going to do the collaborator between this channel and my main channel, just to try and pull some influence over there. As we fade into black here, thank you very much for watching. Seriously, I think this might be the last dedicated tube video of the year. Thank you so much for the support. You know, I've wanted to do YouTube so long, and this year I finally made the choice. Obviously, I don't have a big channel. I have 400 subscribers. But to everyone, it means a lot. You know, every comments, to be honest, mean a lot, because words mean more than numbers. I can't wait to see where this takes me next year. Hopefully we're monetized by then. That's kind of a dream. Because to say I'm going to work and getting to make YouTube videos would be lit. If you're watching till the very end, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you later.
You can hear Indiana by the light switch. Who watches over?